Welcome back. Mobile phones will be banned in schools in England under guidance issued today in an attempt to minimise disruption and improve behaviour in classrooms. Teachers' unions say the crackdown's misguided because most schools already impose a ban. But the Prime Minister says the new rules will offer support for others that want to do the same.
One of the biggest issues children and teachers grapple with every day is the...
Joining me now is Frank Young, the Director of Policy and Research at Parentkind, and teacher and author Francis Gilbert. Thank you both very much indeed for joining me. Let's start with Francis on this one. Francis, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Is this already a fait accompli? The last time we discussed banning mobile phones in schools, all the teachers we spoke to said it's already happened.
Yes, I mean, schools have a lot of control over this, and they often are banned, and certainly banned within lots of lessons. I would say, though, that there is a strong case for actually giving teachers the training and pupils the ability to learn how to use these mobile phones in a educative way, and I think that just banning them outright is not a good step on that level too. So I think, you know, the most kind of creative...
Much to say about that, Francis. I would wait patiently for you to get to the end of the sentence, but I fear I can't control my desire to interrupt and say, how many adults do you know who use their phones as you would have them use them wisely? There isn't an adult on the planet who hasn't fallen down the rabbit hole of social media or found themselves staring at some cat being pushed into a wheelie bin or somebody's croissant that they ate for breakfast, someone they don't know, and staring at it for hours and wondering afterwards what happened to that hour of their lives. If adults can't control themselves, children won't be able to. And isn't the whole point that while they're in school, they're not meant to be productively looking at their phones, they're not meant to be looking at their phones at all?
Well, I mean, their phones are potentially a huge resource, aren't they? They can contain important ebooks, videos. They've got access to the world's information there, haven't they? And I think that teachers guiding them in a mindful way how to use these phones in a good way is really good. And I also actually think that kind of is a duty of educators to actually take students through about what actually is happening when they're using these phones in an inappropriate way in other contexts, you know, so that it is we have this personal social education in schools, and that is possibly a moment to actually get a discussion going amongst students about how they use their phones and actually show them, you know, how they can be used properly. And
let me bring Frank in on this. Frank, what do you think? Do you think that you know, schools must ban phones and they should be banned in break as well? They should just not play a part in the school day?
Yes, we do. And that's because parents tell us that they overwhelmingly support a ban on mobiles in schools, both in the classroom and outside the classroom too, in the playground and in corridors. So we think this is an important step that recognises the voice of parents, which too often is overlooked when we're discussing educational changes.
And what about the notion that actually in many schools phones are already banned, so the government's making mileage out of something that really has been achieved in many schools?
Well, there's evidence from children, secondary school children in particular, that mobile phones are still being used in the classroom. They're disrupting learning, they're causing problems. And I think we ought to recognise that the sort of phones we're talking about now are not the sort of brick phones we might have been familiar with in a previous generation, but these are smartphone devices now, by and large, and almost all children have them. And there's an issue to do with safety too. There's an issue to do with children accessing inappropriate content and also being able to get away from other children who are able to access them at all times of day and night.
Thank you both very much indeed for joining me.